think about it, just the sheer impact of our daily choices. What we eat, how active we are, whether we smoke.
Yeah, the small stuff.
Seems small, but it adds up, right? Huge influence on our health, how long we live.
Absolutely huge.
And consider this stat, something like 50%, half of deaths from the top 10 causes linked to our own behaviors.
It's pretty staggering. Really makes you stop and think.
Doesn't it just? It just underscores the power we have, really.
For better or, sometimes for worse, shaping our own health journey.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've been looking at a load of fascinating insights, drawing quite a bit from Jane Ogden's The Psychology of Health and Illness.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
Yeah.
Really trying to unpack the why behind our health habits.
Exactly. So our mission, if you like, is to get to the core of these choices.
We want to explore why behavior matters so much, what beliefs are driving it.
And the psychological models that try to explain it all.
Basically a shortcut to getting well informed on this because it's just so crucial.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll look at just how much behavior affects mortality. Some really striking examples there. Then we'll nail down what we actually mean by health behaviors. The good, the bad.
The whole spectrum.
Then we'll get into the really interesting bit, our individual beliefs. Attitudes, control, risk perception, confidence.
Just efficacy. Yeah.
And then we'll navigate some key models for behavior change.
And finally, zoom in on one specific behavior we all do.
Eating. Every single day. Okay, let's kick off. How much does behavior really impact how long we live?
Well, that first statistic you mentioned about half of all deaths from the big killers being linked to our actions.
Yeah.
That's a powerful place to start. It really sets the stage.
It does. And if that wasn't enough, Dahl and Peto.
Yeah.
They estimated, what was it, roughly 75% of all cancer deaths?
Yeah, 3/4 linked back to behavior.
And they even broke it down. Tobacco was about 30%, alcohol just 3%, but diet.
Diet was huge, 35%.
And then reproductive or sexual behavior around 7%.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The sheer scale of behavioral influence on something as complex as cancer.
It really is.
And that breakdown really shows where we could potentially make the biggest difference with prevention.
Totally. And the links to specific cancers are just stark. Lung cancer, 90%.
A staggering 90% linked to smoking.
And it's not just lung cancer, is it? Smoking pops up everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Bladder cancer, pancreatic cancer, heart disease. The list goes on.
It's just one behavior, but the ripple effect is massive.
It really illustrates it perfectly. Consequences across multiple body systems.
Exactly. And it's not only about smoking. Think about bowel cancer.
Quite common.
Kills about 11% of men with cancer, 14% of women. And the research points pretty strongly towards diet again.
High fat, high meat, low fiber type diets.
That seems to be the connection, yeah.
So another clear link, what we eat, long-term outcomes.
But here's a really crucial point, I think. Behavior isn't just about getting sick in the first place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's also massive in how we manage illness.
Right. How we recover, how we live with things. Think about someone recovering from a heart attack.
Or a stroke, yeah. Lifestyle changes are often vital for rehab.
Or someone trying to lose weight, or manage diabetes, or even going through cancer treatment.
Our behaviors are totally central to all of that. Coping, recovery, management.
That's such an important shift in perspective, isn't it? It's not just avoiding bad stuff.
No, it's about actively taking charge, making conscious choices, even when you're already dealing with something.
Okay, so we've established behavior is vital. But when we say health behaviors, what exactly are we talking about? It seems broad.
It is broad, but simply put, it's any action related to your health status.
Okay.
So anything you do or maybe don't do that affects your health.
Right. So on the one hand, you've got the negative stuff. The behaviors we know aren't great for us.
Like smoking, obviously. Eating lots of high-fat food regularly.
Drinking too much alcohol, maybe being too sedentary.
Yeah, not moving enough. Unsafe sex practices too. Those kinds of things.
And then on the flip side, the positive ones.
These are the things we do to protect or actively improve our health.
Give us some examples. Everyday things.
Totally everyday things. Brushing your teeth, that's one.
Okay, yeah.
Putting your seatbelt on. Actively looking up health information, reliable information, hopefully.
Going for checkups.
Yeah.
Taking meds if you need them.
Exactly. Medication adherence, getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, being active.
It's a huge range then.
It really is. All fall under that positive health behavior umbrella.
So some are conscious decisions, others almost automatic habits. Okay, now let's dig into what actually drives these behaviors. the beliefs behind them.
Ah, yes, the psychology bit.
Yeah.
Because our beliefs really are the foundation, aren't they?
They seem to be.
Ah.
Let's start with attitudes. Seems simple, but
Yeah.
our feelings about things influence us.
Oh, definitely. Your evaluation of something, exercise, smoking, vegetables, condoms, doctors, alcohol.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. If you have a negative attitude towards exercise, maybe you think it's boring or hard.
You're less likely to do it.
Exactly. But if you genuinely believe vegetables are good for you, you value your health, you're more inclined to eat them.
Same for using contraception or going to the doctor.
Precisely. Your attitude shapes your intention and often your action.
Makes total sense.
Okay.
Okay, what about beliefs about control? This sounds interesting.
This taps into something quite fundamental, our need to understand why things happen.
Okay.
Attribution theory suggests we're always trying to figure out causes. It makes us feel more in control.
So how does that apply to health?
Well, people develop beliefs about what causes health issues, and crucially, whether those causes are controllable or not.
Right. So someone might think their weight is down to genetics,
Which they feel they can't control. Or maybe hormones.
whereas someone else might link their heart attack to their past lifestyle.
And believe they can control things now by changing their habits. Makes a huge difference.
So that leads to this idea of locus of control.
Exactly. Health, locus of control. Do you believe your health is mostly down to your own actions? That's an internal locus.
Or is it down to external factors, like luck, fate, or maybe just what the doctor tells you?
That's the external locus. And it really influences behavior.
So if you feel you're in the driving seat, internal locus, you're more likely to act.
Generally, yes. People with a strong internal locus tend to be more proactive about their health. Makes sense, right? If you think you can influence it, you're more likely to try.
It does. Okay, next, belief. Risk perception. How we judge our own chances of getting ill. I think we can all relate to this one.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not always rational, is it?
Probably not.
We often underestimate our own risk compared to other people. It's called unrealistic optimism.
Ah, the classic, it won't happen to me feeling.
That's the one. The bias that we're somehow less vulnerable than the average person.
Where does that show up most often, do you think? With health risks.
Oh, things like maybe occasional risky behaviors. Unprotected sex just this once.
Right. Or maybe downplaying the impact of a poor diet when you're young.
Exactly. I'll worry about that later. Recognizing that bias is really the first step.
And you mentioned risk compensation too. What's that?
That's the idea that doing something healthy gives you a pass almost to do something unhealthy.
Like, I went for a run, so this slice of cake is fine.
Sort of like that, yeah. Or maybe someone thinks because they eat well, smoking isn't as bad for them. It's a mental balancing act, but not always accurate.
Interesting. It's like we're trying to justify things to ourselves. Okay, final belief. Self-efficacy. This sounds crucial.
It's hugely important. Bandura's concept. It's basically your belief in your own ability to succeed at something specific.
So, applied to health.
It's your confidence that you can actually do the health behavior.
So it's not just wanting to quit smoking.
No, it's believing you can quit. That you have what it takes.
Ah, okay, so someone might really, really want to quit, but if their self-efficacy is low?
They just don't believe they can actually manage it. They lack the confidence.
And the opposite. High self-efficacy.
They're motivated and they feel confident they can do it, like scheduling that checkup and actually going.
So it predicts whether you'll even try. And stick with it.
It's a very strong predictor, yes. Both starting and maintaining a behavior, especially when things get tough.
Right. So we have these core beliefs shaping our actions. Now, how do people actually use this understanding to help people change? That's where the models come in.
Exactly. Researchers have tried to weave these different beliefs together into frameworks, these models, to help us understand the bigger picture and design better interventions.
Okay. Let's start with one I think I've heard of.
The stages of change model.
Yes, Prochaska and DiClemente. Very well known. It suggests people move through about 5 stages when changing a behavior.
5 stages, okay.
Pre-contemplation, not thinking about change. Contemplation, starting to think about it. Preparation, planning to act soon. Action, actually doing the new behavior. And maintenance, keeping it up long term.
So it's like climbing a ladder, step by step.
Well, that's the common misconception. It's actually more dynamic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not always straightforward. Not at all. People often cycle through them. They might move forward, then slip back. Relapse is part of the model.
Like trying to start exercising. Start, stop, maybe start again later.
Exactly that. Life gets in the way. Motivation dips. It's not linear. That's a key point.
And you mentioned something about decisional balance. Weighing things up.
Yes. At each stage, people weigh the pros and cons of changing versus not changing.
How does that work?
Well, someone in pre-contemplation for quitting smoking might only focus on the downsides of quitting withdrawal, losing a social crutch.
Right. While someone in action or maintenance.
They're likely focusing more on the benefits, feeling healthier, saving money, breathing easier.
So knowing where someone is helps you tailor the message.
Precisely. You address the specific pros and cons relevant to their stage. It's been used for smoking, alcohol, exercise, screening, lots of things.
Makes sense. Though I guess it has its critics, too.
Oh, yes. Some argue the stages aren't that distinct or it doesn't fully explain how people move between them, but it's a very practical framework.
Okay. What's the next model, then?
Next up is the health belief model, the HBM. This one focuses on a set of core beliefs that predict whether someone will take a health-related action.
Core beliefs.
Like what?
Okay, so it includes perceived susceptibility. How likely do you think you are to get the condition?
Right.
Perceived severity. How bad do you think it would be if you got it?
Mm-hmm.
Perceived benefits. What good things will happen if you take the recommended action?
Okay.
Perceived barriers. What are the downsides or costs of taking that action?
Like time, money, discomfort.
Exactly. Plus, cues to action things that prompt you to act, like a symptom or a reminder postcard.
Internal or external triggers.
Correct. And more recently, they've added perceived control and general health motivation to the mix as well.
So let me see if I've got this. If I think I'm likely to get something nasty,
High susceptibility, high severity.
and I think doing something will help, and it's not too difficult,
High benefits, low barriers.
then I'm more likely to do it, especially if I get a reminder. That's the essence of it, yes. Think about getting a flu jab.
Okay.
If you think you might get flu, susceptibility, it could make you quite ill, severity.
Yeah.
The jab works well, benefits, and it's just a quick appointment, low barriers.
You're more likely to get it.
Yeah.
Especially if your GP sends a text.
Exactly. The HBM's been used a lot for things like vaccinations, dental visits, dietary changes.
Sounds pretty logical.
Yeah.
Any drawbacks to this one?
Well, a common criticism is that it focuses very heavily on rational, conscious thought.
Like, we always weigh everything up perfectly.
Right. And sometimes decisions are more emotional or habitual. It also maybe doesn't focus enough on social factors or the environment around us.
Fair point. Okay, moving on. Protection motivation theory. PMT. Sounds intense.
It kind of builds on the HBM, actually, but it explicitly brings in fear.
The fear factor. Okay, how does that work?
PMT suggests our motivation to protect ourselves comes from weighing up the threat and our ability to cope. It has 5 main bits.
5 components. Go on.
Severity, how bad is the threat? Susceptibility, how likely is it to affect me? Response effectiveness, will the recommended action actually work?
Okay, similar to HBM so far.
Yes, but then crucially, self-efficacy, do I believe I can do the action? And fear, how much does the threat actually scare me?
So fear is a direct motivator here.
It is. The idea is information about a threat, like skin cancer from sun exposure, can increase fear, perceived severity, and susceptibility.
Right.
If you also believe the protective action works, using sunscreen is effective, and you feel confident you can do it consistently, high self-efficacy,
then the fear motivates you to actually do it.
that's the theory. It combines the threat appraisal with the coping appraisal. It's been used to look at exercise, self-exams, even things like binge drinking.
Interesting how it adds that emotional layer.
Okay.
One more main model. The theory of planned behavior. TPB.
Yes, Asen's theory. This one puts a really strong emphasis on intentions.
Our intention to do something is key.
It's seen as the immediate precursor to behavior. And the TPB says intentions are shaped by 3 things.
3 things. What are they?
First, our attitude towards the behavior. Do we think doing it is good or bad? And what outcomes do we expect?
Okay, like our personal evaluation.
Second, the subjective norm. What do we think important people in our lives want us to do? And how much do we care about their opinions?
The social pressure element.
Exactly. And third, perceived behavioral control. How much control do we believe we have over doing the behavior?
Which links back to self-efficacy, but also includes external things.
Yes, internal factors like willpower, but also external things like resources, opportunities, obstacles. And importantly, past behavior feeds into this perception of control.
So, my attitude, what others think, and whether I feel I can do it, all shape my intention.
That's the core idea, and intention then predicts behavior, although
Yes.
perceived behavioral control can sometimes bypass intention and influence behavior directly. If you genuinely believe you can't do something, that belief itself might stop you, regardless of your intention.
Gotcha. Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say someone wants to cut down on sugary drinks.
Okay.
Their intention will be stronger if they have a positive attitude, believe it's healthy, think their friends support it, subjective norm, and feel confident they can resist temptation, perceived behavioral control.
Right.
But even with a strong intention, if they deep down believe they have zero willpower around sugary drinks, low perceived control, that belief might directly sabotage their efforts.
This seems quite comprehensive. It brings in the social side more.
It does. That's a major strength. It considers social norms and environmental factors plus past experience. That's why it's been used so widely.
For what kind of behaviors?
Oh, loads. Condom use, blood donation, smoking, exercise, speeding, even self-harm. It's very versatile.
Okay, wow. So these models give us different angles on why we do what we do for our health. But let's apply some of this. You mentioned eating behavior as a great example.
Yes, absolutely. It's fundamental, affects everyone, and is linked to so many health conditions: obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, you name it.
Makes sense. And psychology has different ways of looking at why we eat what we eat.
Definitely. We can think about it using three main approaches we've sort of touched on.
Yeah, what's the first one?
Cognitive models. These focus, as you'd expect, on our thoughts, beliefs, attitudes about food.
Like applying the HBM or TPB to eating.
Exactly. Researchers use these models to predict intentions to eat specific foods like whole grains, fruit, veg.
And what tends to stand out?
Perceived behavioral control often comes out as a really strong predictor. Feeling like you can make healthy choices is key.
That feeling of control again. Okay, what's the second approach?
The developmental model. This looks at how our eating habits and preferences develop, especially when we're kids.
How we learn to like or dislike certain foods.
Precisely. It highlights three key processes: exposure, social learning, and associative learning.
Exposure. Just getting used to things.
Pretty much. If kids are exposed to new foods repeatedly, maybe 8 to 10 times is optimal, their fear of new foods, neophobia, tends to decrease and they're more likely to accept them.
Makes sense. Familiarity breeds liking sometimes.
Yeah.
And social learning.
That's learning by watching others. Parents, friends, media figures, they all act as role models.
So if my parents ate lots of veggies,
You're more likely to. Peer influence is strong too. Kids might change their preferences just based on who they sit with at lunch. And parental influence can last a long time.
wow. We pick up so much subconsciously.
Yeah.
What about associative learning?
That's about making connections, linking foods with rewards or consequences.
Like getting praise for trying broccoli.
Yes, that positive reinforcement can build a positive association, but it can backfire too.
How so?
Well, using unhealthy food as a reward, if you're good, you get sweets, makes the unhealthy food seem even more desirable.
Ah, okay.
And that classic eat your greens to get pudding tactic, it can actually make kids like the greens less because they're seen as an obstacle to the desired pudding.
Ooh, interesting unintended consequence there. Okay, the final approach, the weight concern model.
Right. This one acknowledges that food isn't just about nutrition. It has meanings: comfort, celebration, reward, and our body weight and shape also carry meanings: attractiveness, success, control. This model focuses on restrained eating or dieting.
Dieting driven by wanting to change weight or body shape, often more in women.
Generally observed more in women, yes, driven by weight concern and body dissatisfaction.
And what's the effect of trying to restrain eating?
Well, paradoxically, it can lead to more preoccupation with food, and sometimes to overeating.
How does that happen?
It's called disinhibition, or the what the hell effect. A restrained eater breaks their diet rule, maybe eats one biscuit.
And thinks, oh, well, I've blown it now.
Might as well eat the whole packet. Exactly. That feeling of having already failed can trigger a loss of control.
What kinds of things can trigger that slip up?
All sorts. Feeling deprived, being in a low mood, drinking alcohol, even quitting smoking sometimes. Just breaking a rule can be enough for some.
So trying too hard to control things can ironically lead to losing control.
That's the paradox it highlights. It shows the complex dance between our thoughts, feelings, and eating actions.
Wow. Okay, this has been,
Yeah.
a proper deep dive. It's incredible just how much our beliefs shape these everyday health actions.
It really is. And seeing how these models try to piece it all together gives us such valuable frameworks.
Frameworks for understanding ourselves, maybe, and potentially for making changes.
Exactly. It's just behavior isn't random. It's tied to our psychology, our environment, our experiences.
And these models, while not perfect, give us lenses to see that more clearly, to understand ourselves and maybe find better ways to promote well-being.
Absolutely. It really brings home how central behavior is to our health journey.
So, thinking about everything we've discussed, the power of our beliefs, the influence of others, the models, the what the hell effect, here's something to ponder. Considering all that, what's maybe one single small change or experiment you could try this week based on what we've explored? Definitely some food for thought there.